Hello everybody and welcome back to my Discord.py bot series where I record a series of tutorials over different functionalities and different things you can do with Discord.py in creating a bot in Discord. So I hope you guys are having a good day. Today we're going to dive into a little bit more of a specific command. I know the past things have been kind of like just setting the background for stuff and kind of things that we need for the bot, but let's start making real commands that are worth of substance that our users can actually use. Let's jump right into it. Alright, so heading over to Replit or repl.it, however you want to say it, let's go ahead and create our first command. This one's going to be very simple, don't worry, it's not going to be the only command we make today, but I just want to go ahead and put a command that we don't need, but it's going to be useful, and also I'm going to introduce aliases to you guys. So let's go ahead and create a new command. This command is going to be the shutdown command, or the quit command, or stop command, however you want to stop the bot or shut it down. We can do so through actual Discord. So async def, we can call this stop, shutdown, let's call it shutdown. And then we're going to pass in CTX. Like I said, we need CTX for all of our commands. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do await ctx.send, shutting, that is nice, well, shutting down the bot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do await client.close. Fairly simple, but this literally just shuts down the bot. I mean, there's no real way to say it. It takes the client, it closes it, because normally we use this client.run once in the code, but once we run client.close, it actually stops the bot from running. So let's go ahead and rerun the bot. You can see we get our output on the onReady. That's how we know our bot's online. And then we can do .help now, and now we see a new command called shutdown. We do .shutdown, we get shutting down the bot, and over here on the right hand side we should see it go offline. Make sure, oh okay, just gotta wait for it to update. It'll update in a second, just give it a second. Sometimes it's a little slow to update, as you can see, but I can assure you that this is offline just for the fact that we have this run button here, which means that it is offline, but it's just not updating. So don't worry about that, but trust me, it is offline, because when it's online, you'll have a stop button. And I'll prove that real quick. If we do shut down, you can see in our console, it changes to this white arrow, this yellow arrow, and this changes to run. And now if we try to run any command, .help, .shutdown, nothing's actually .hello, nothing is actually running because the bot is offline. So that's the shutdown command, not a huge deal, but just wanted to go ahead and put that command in. But the main thing I want to do with this command is introduce something called aliases. And if you don't know what an alias is, it's just another word you can put in for a command that'll run the exact same command. So okay, let's say we have this command called shutdown. Let's say I want this, but I want it when a user puts .shutdown, or if they put .close, it does the exact same thing. So some of you may think, okay, well, I'm just going to copy this, and then we're going to change it to close, and there we go. Now we have the same exact command, but with different names. This will work, but if you get into bigger commands that you want a lot of aliases for, you don't want to copy, say 50 lines in 50 lines of code in a command, and let's say you have 4 aliases for that. You don't want to have 200 lines of code when you can literally just, I'll show you how to do it without copying that. That's my point. So instead of doing this, what we can do is you go up to these open parentheses that I talked about in the first video. The thing that we can pass in here is something called aliases. So we do aliases, and aliases has to be in the form of a list. So even if you just want one thing, it still has to be in a list. You do aliases is equal to a list, and you list all the aliases you want. So close, stop, and now anytime we put shutdown, close, or stop, it'll run this code, and I'll go ahead and show you that quickly. So if I do .shutdown, it should still work, shutting down the bot. Oh, that time it went instantly offline. Or if I do .close, as you can see, shutting down the bot. Or if I do .stop, shutting down the bot. So any of those aliases always runs the exact same code that's below it. That's a very easy way to do that. One thing I do want to show about aliases, why they might be a little more useful for you. So if you don't know, in Python, you're not allowed, it's part of the syntax that you can't create a function name that starts with a number. So for example, let's say a common command, I say common, but one of the commands that's used in Discord bot sometimes is a command called 8ball that gives you a, random answer out of it. But you can't actually call the command 8ball because, as you can see, I'm getting a red line under it that says invalid syntax because no function can start with a number. So what you have to do is most of the time people will put a underscore here, and then just inside of their aliases they put 8ball. So now this command can be called with .8ball. Obviously, it's not an actual 8ball command. It has our shutdown code below it. But now I can actually create a command that starts with a number. As you can see, it runs that. Let's go ahead and put this back. But yeah, the point is, if you want to get past the boundaries by Python that doesn't allow you to put a number in the start of a function, just go ahead and use aliases. All right, so that was another simple command, I know. Let's go ahead and get into a more complex command that introduces embeds and also functionality into our commands that we return from it. So yeah, this command is going to be the user info command, which pretty much returns a bunch of different values and information on a user that you send or on the author. So we're going to go ahead and create another command at client.command, and we can create aliases for it because why not? We just learned about it. Aliases. First, let's call the name async def user info. And then for the aliases, we can put uinfo. I know some bots have like who is for it. What else could you put? That's good enough. All right. So now when we call user info, we want to create what's called an embed. If you don't know what an embed is, I'll show you quickly. These are embeds. So it's pretty much just a fancy way to send a message. It has usually a colored line along the side. It has a bunch of different values that you can put in. It's very, very customizable, and almost every bot has it. So I'd recommend using embeds if you can. If you like the look of it. If you don't like the look of it, you don't have to do it. You can also use Discord's integrated formatting, like with the code blocks and stuff like that, if you want to use like that. Like how the .help right now is inside. Oh, whoops, the bot's not online. Like you can use stuff for all your commands like inside of this, which is just like the code blocks. You can use that as well. But I'm going to use embeds for almost everything. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use an embed. So first you need to define the embed that you want to use. So embed is equal to discord.embed. And then you can pass in title, description, color, and timestamp. I think there's a couple more things you can pass in, but I'm just going to cover the main things that I use. So for the title, we want the title to say user info. That's all the title's going to say. And why did I put that in? Okay, there we go. Title equals user info. And then for the description, which I'll show you where all of this resides. You probably don't know where exactly on the embed these values fall, but I'll show you when all this actually gets sent. I'll show you where this goes. But pretty much the title's at the top. Above that is an author line, but I'm not going to put anything on the author line. Title at the top, the description below it, and then all the fields, and I'll explain the rest later. But title, user info, then right below it's going to be our description. And I'll say, here's the user info on the user. And then I want to put what user we're putting info for. So instead of just passing CTX, we want to be able to get information on any user inside the server. So we're going to pass CTX and we're going to pass member. But we're going to go ahead and declare this. We're going to kind of like predefine it, not predefine it, but put kind of like limits on it, that it has to be a discord.member. So if it's not a discord.member, it gives us an error. So if I input this just allows us to, okay, how to explain this? So if I do .userinfo at Sanimo, this right here isn't at Sanimo. The actual Discord just converts it into that. So what it actually says is like, it looks something like this. And then it's like a bunch of numbers with your ID like that. So when I input the command, this is what the code is actually reading. But if I put the decorator that says discord.member, this knows to convert this weird string into a member, if that makes sense. It allows you to use mentions inside of your command arguments, if that makes sense. Okay, so now we can pass a member in. So description is, here's the user info for the user member. Member dot name. So the member is actually gonna have a lot of information in it. So if you put just info in the user member, it'll like be this long list of like their like ID, their name, but you want to actually specify what you want to put. So you can put name or display name. Just gonna put name, and then we want to put the color. So the color has to be one of the many colors that Discord predefines, or you can use RGB values. I believe it's by like discord.color.from RGB, and then you put a tuple of RGBs, or a tuple of RGBs, sorry. But let's go ahead and just put one of the predefined colors that Discord gives us. So discord.color.do green, discord.color.green. And then the last thing that I had talked about was the timestamp. This goes at the very bottom, and this has to be a datetime.datetime argument. So we're gonna do ctx.message.created@. So that just gives us the time that the message was created at. So it'll say today at 2:11 p.m. is what it'll say. And if it's not the same day, then it'll say like the date. But so there we go. That's our embed, but we can still change stuff on the embed. We're just kind of defining kind of the main values of it, the title, description, color, timestamp. So now we have it created. Now we can actually add more things to it. And for the user info, well, let's go ahead and just send this and show you what it looks like. So we're gonna await it. Remember, wait tcx.send embed equals embed, and let's see what this looks like at the moment. So you should see, I can actually use one of the aliases, uinfo@Sanimo. And so now it says user info. Here's the user info on the user, Sanimo. It says today at 6:54 p.m., just like I was talking about. But I do want to implement one thing real quick. So if I just do .uinfo, you see nothing happens and we actually get an error because member is a required argument. We can make this, we could either make it not required and then return info on someone else, or an easier way to do this is if someone types the command but doesn't put a member in, just return information on themselves. So sometimes people just want to know information on themselves without like putting themselves into the argument. So we can actually predefine this as the author of whoever sends the command. So we can do equals ctx.message.author, I think it is. Actually, just kidding, we cannot do that because, right, we're defining ctx in the same line. So we're actually going to define it as none, which means it's not required if you put it as none. And I'm going to say if member is equal to none, then the member is going to be equal to this. So this way, if they don't give a name, they don't give a member, if it's equal to none, then I'm going to define member as the author. So it'll return information on the author. So there we go. If I go back into here and I go .uinfo at YouTube test, you can see here's the user info on the user YouTube test, or I can do just .uinfo and that'll return information on myself. So there we go. That's how you get around the required arguments. All right, so let's start getting to some of the functionality of this user info. So what we want to return is, there's a bunch of different things that you can check for in a user, but we're going to return stuff like their ID, their name, their status, like if they're online, their idle, stuff like that, their status, their roles, their top roles, different stuff like that we'll put inside of this. So we're going to say embed. So we're all going to deal with all of these inside of fields. So we're going to do embed.add_field, and you can see we can pass the name, the value, and the inline. So name is equal to, and then we're going to say, we can just do their ID first. And then we're going to say their value is equal to member.id. And then by default, inline is equal to true. So we can just leave it as that. I'll go ahead and show you what this does. So if I do .uinfo, you can see we get the ID on myself. Pretty easy. There's a bunch of different stuff you can do, and I'll show you more of those. Let's also just do the name. So there's the display name and there's also the nickname that you can check for. So if someone has a different name and nickname, I can go ahead and put that on here. So I can go name, and the way I'm gonna do name, we're actually gonna include their discriminator as well. Yeah, let's go ahead and do their discriminator. So value is equal to, and we're gonna use f strings for this. We're gonna do member dot name, and then a hashtag, and then member dot discriminator. So there we go. That will return their name as their name. So like for mine, it'll just be Sanimo, and then it would be hashtag, and then the numbers of my discriminator. So there we go, pretty easy. And let's also add one for your nickname. So we're gonna go nickname, and obviously if you don't have a nickname, then this nickname would just be your actual name. So for this, the value is gonna be the member.display underscore name, because whatever your nickname changes to, that's your display name. That's what you're being displayed as. So there we go. Let's go ahead and run this just to see what this looks like. It should all be working. It is a good idea to always, like when you add something like this, like one at a time, turn off your bot, rerun it to make sure that you know, like if there's an error. You don't want to write 100 lines of code and then find like 5 errors, and then it's hard to find exactly where it's at. So try to do it in small increments is my point. But as you can see, we have user info, my ID, my name with my discriminator, and then my nickname. So if I were to change my nickname to something, let's go ahead and do that. Edit server prof. Wait, how do I do that? Let's just do it on my bot. Change nickname, test. So now if I do .uinfo at test, you can see user info. Here's a user info on the user YouTube test. So it still says its name, even though I've changed its name. It says it's a real Discord name with discriminator, but then it says its nickname here. So that's why you'd maybe want to use that. You don't have to put that into it, but I will. Just put reset nickname. Okay, let's talk about quickly. We can also include the thumbnail, which we're just going to put their avatar in. So we're going to do embed.set thumbnail, and the thumbnail is a little image that goes kind of on the top right of the embed. You'll see where that goes in a second. So set thumbnail, and then you can pass URL is equal to member dot it's either dot avatar or dot avatar underscore URL. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to see. It's one of the two. Okay, there we go. So it's just avatar. So this puts my or whatever member, it puts their profile picture in the top right of it. So there's that. Let's go ahead and keep adding more fields. Let me think what other fields we could add. All right. Okay. So we can also add, like I said, the status. So embed.add field name is equal to status. So this will be the status of the member. We're going to say value is equal to member.status. Pretty easy. Let's also do the created at, so we can actually check when a user's account was created. So embed.add underscore field name is equal to created at value is equal to member.created at. Pretty easy. But I do want to show you one thing about how this is going to be formatted and why you might want to change it. So if I do .uinfo, as you can see, still ID, the name, nickname, status is online because I am currently online. And then I get this created at with a really weird format. That's kind of ugly and hard to read. I mean, you can if you look at it, you can tell exactly what it means. 2021, 4th month, 30th day. And then this is all like milliseconds and like seconds and all that. But let's make it look a little bit better so we don't have to look at that. And we're kind of going to use the same thing or the same functionality that we used in the onReady event where we use the .strf strf time. Is that what it is? Let me see. Yeah, strf time, which just formats it pretty, just like we did right here. So we're going to go ahead and do that for this. All right, so let's go ahead and do that with .strf time, and then I have it copied because it is kind of a lot of things to remember exactly how to, like, the format, all the different codes for the format. But this, you'll see exactly what it gives you. But yeah, go ahead and send that, and that should be formatted now. Let's just see .uinfo. So there we go. Now it's formatted a lot better. It says Friday, April 30th, 2021 at 8:53 p.m. So that's a lot better to read than this. So if you want to copy this format, you can, or you can look at the time modules documentation down in description. That's okay as well. You can format this however you'd like. Let's go ahead and put when they joined the server at. I think that would be a good one to add. And this one works the exact same way as they created at. It's literally going to look identical. Joined at. But obviously instead of .created at, it's going to be .joined at. .strf time. And then this. So that should be the joined at. Let's go ahead and see if that's working. .uinfo, and now we should see joined at. So this is when the user joined the server. So Saturday, August 27th, 2022 at 5:12 p.m., which is true. I just made this server a couple hours ago, and as you can see, it's 7 p.m. I joined the server at 5 p.m. That is true. All right, let's go. I'm trying to think. There's one more. Let me think of what else we can add into this. Okay, so we're also going to do the top role that the user has and also the roles that they have. So handling the roles is a little bit difficult, at least for a beginner user. But I'm going to go ahead and create a new variable. I'm going to just do so up here. Call it roles is equal to, it's going to be a list of 4 roles in member.roles. And that'll give us a list. That's not working. One second. Sorry. Role for roles in member.roles. So that'll give us a list of all the roles. Okay, so now that we have that role variable defined, we can go embed.addField. Name is equal to roles. Value is equal to roles. And then we can send that. And also I want to implement the top role that they have. So embed.addField name is equal to top role. And then the value is equal to member.top role. I think that's what it is. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. We'll have to see. Okay, so here we get this formatted weird again. You'll learn that a lot of the commands and events that you do inside of Discord gives you very weird formatting back, but it's fairly simple to format it yourself. But as you can see, roles we have, because it actually returns all of the information on the roles, it doesn't return just the name of the roles. So roles, we have role ID, and then the ID of the role I have, and then the name of the role. Obviously, I don't have any roles in this. Let's go ahead and just actually create a role and give it to myself to see this working. Call this one test, save changes, and give it to myself. And you'll see that this is actually a command that works. .uinfo. So as you can see now, we have name is equal to add everyone, and then we have the second role, which is the ID, and then the name. And then you can see our top role, it says right there, which is test, because that's above the add everyone role. But let's go ahead and format this a little better, because I don't really like looking at all this. So instead of having this roles value right here, we're actually going to have an empty string and use the .join function, which is going to give us an iterable. So we're going to pass in the list just like this and say for, we say role for role in roles. Actually, sorry, role.mention for role in roles. And that should join it together with mentions and give it this separator of a space right here. So if we go .uinfo, we can see now we have all of the roles right here mentioned. And one thing to note, if you don't know about embeds, if you mention a role or even a user inside of an embed, it doesn't actually mention them because it's inside of an embed. It doesn't actually send them the ping, or it even appears how you know how you're pinged and the message turns orange. It doesn't even appear like that. Like for example, I'll go ahead and show you that real quick. So in the top where it says here's the info on the user Sanimo, instead of having member.name, we can actually put member.mention, and you'll see that it doesn't actually mention myself. uinfo. It mentions me, but it doesn't ping me, if that makes sense. It doesn't give me the notification or turn orange. So this is all formatted correctly. Two more things I want to add. So for the roles thing, I want to actually add little parentheses next to here that says how many roles we have. So I want to be like roles and then like 15 if we have 15 roles. So I'll go ahead and show you how to do that real quick. So roles, and then we're going to make this an F string, and then put curly brackets or braces, and put the len of roles, because roles is a list, so we can take the length of it, and that's how many roles we have, and put that in parentheses so it looks better. And then also the top role, we're going to take the member.toprole.mention. So we're taking the top role and then we're mentioning it. So this should look all formatted better. .uinfo. Now we have, boom, we have roles 2 because we have 2 roles. If you don't want to include the @everyone role, you can just take the length of it -1, because the @everyone role technically isn't a role. Well, it's like a built-in Discord role, but it's not a role listed here. So, but anyway, that's all of it formatted correctly. The only other thing that I would add is a message count for how many messages the user has on the server. But to my knowledge, there's no way to implement that directly through like there's no way to access that through Discord. So you'd have to have some type of logging feature through like a leveling system that logs experience that a user has through their messages. If you know what I'm talking about, there's like level systems inside of Discord. So the more messages a user sends, the more they level up. And in order to have that functionality, you have to have those messages or the experience stored in a JSON file or some type of dictionary outside of the file. So you can always just use that for your message count. But I don't believe there's any other way to check for how many messages a user has. But I'm going to go ahead and add the field, but not add any functionality. Later on, when we talk about leveling, I'll go ahead and come back to this point and show you how to implement that into the user info command. So name is equal to messages, and then the value, I'm trying to leave it to an open string right now, but later on, like I said, this will show how many messages the user sent in the server. But yeah, that I believe is the entirety of the user info command. And I'll go ahead and show it on me.uinfo. Something wrong? Oh, it's because I can't leave it blank, of course. We're trying to put 0, even though we know it's not true, but we're just going to put 0 until I add functionality to that. .uinfo. So there we go. User info. Here's the user info on the user at Sanimo. The ID, which is the ID of myself, is, as you can see, if I right click on this, or right click on myself. Wait, how do I do this? Right click somewhere. How do you get the ID of someone? Okay. Whatever, never mind. That is my ID, is what I'm trying to prove. The name, which actually gives my name and also my discriminator. My nickname, in case I have a nickname. If not, it's just going to show the same name. My status, which is currently online. When my account was created at. When I joined this server. All of the roles that I have, including the count of them. The top role that I have, which I didn't really explain, but the top role is... Please I'll explain. So it's your top role. It has the most amount of permissions. So inside of every server, there's a role kind of hierarchy, which the better roles are on top and the worst roles are on bottom. So it always return whichever role that you have, that it's the top role or the highest up role. And then your message count, which like I said, does not functionality yet. And also we have a profile picture on the right and we have the timestamp on the bottom. We have it inside of an embed with the color green. So that is a pretty simple user info command. There's a couple more things that you can listen for or check for inside of a user. And let me go ahead and do .uinfo on YouTube test. You can see here's their ID, their nickname, and all that stuff, status, online, messages. One more thing that I could include, I guess I'll go ahead and quickly include it. It's very, very simple. But that is just basically checking if they're a bot. So I can go embed.add field, and I'll show you that it returns yes or true for the bot and false for myself. So name is equal to bot ? Because this returns a Boolean value, which Boolean values can only be true or false. And value is just member.bot. And this literally just returns the Boolean value. So show that real quick. And if I do .uinfo on myself, I put I misspelled member. Nice. That's very impressive. Okay, .uinfo, and you'll see bot is false because I'm a real person. I'm not a bot. But if I do .uinfo at YouTube test, you can see bot is true. So that's another thing you can listen for. I think there's some more, but these are the main ones that I have on my user info command. Oh, and also I mentioned that we are able to actually use mentions for the argument that we pass in. I don't believe if we do dot like this. Oh, so it does work. Okay, it also works if we use just the name, and it probably works if we use just our ID. Let me see. .uinfo ID. There we go. It works as well. So, anyways, that was I know someone was kind of longer. I'm trying to go into a lot of depth into every single line that I write and the meaning behind all of it. But this is the basics of a user info command. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If you liked it, like the video, and also subscribe and stay tuned for more tutorials where we go into more depth of Discord.py bot functionalities, event listeners, logs. We're going to be doing welcome messages, React roles. There's a bunch of different stuff that we're going to cover in this. Leveling systems, it's a lot. So I have a lot of videos planned. Just get ready for that. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.